I think like most people, I'm still trying to figure out how this AI and me coding thing is going to work. What it really turns into, I think, is we really let AI take the reins of the code that we want to generate, and then we kind of just turn a blind eye. So what that ends up doing is making my website a mess. So I recently did do this. So I have Claude Code. I use Claude Code pretty frequently, and I use it for work as well. But the thing is, you just let it go, you give it some specs, and you let it do its thing. But I'm going to take some time to actually review the code today and go through and fix things that either were from older versions of Claude that wasn't very good, or was just something that like, oh, this seemed like a good idea, or I just didn't know, so I just kept telling Claude to go. This is more than just like refactoring. This is kind of going through what I think is happening behind the scenes with my own code and then fixing it. So I'm going to be doing a lot of cleaning, a lot of making this work better, and just working through some code. So I'm looking forward to this because one of my goals, ideally this year, ideally in the next couple of months, is that I can open source my website, nlvcodes.com. So it's a very good and robust example of how Next.js and Payload work together and how we can do more than just manage content on a website. So I know a lot of people look at it and they want to see an example of it, but really I'm just embarrassed by the code. That's what we're here to fix tonight. I'll be looking through as much as possible line by line and figuring out what's actually happening in my repo, because I don't know what's happening in my repo. So we're going to figure that out together. And I think we can just get started with some code here. And really the best way I think I'm going to do this is start with our payload situation here. So I've got these collections. The one thing, or the things that I won't touch, are any user collections or authentication collections. So my application uses BetterAuth for my magic links, but it also has like a normal user flow as well. But I don't want to touch those because that can break core functionality, and that's something that would need something a little bit more like thought through and figure out how to actually do that in a way that doesn't break my website. We won't start with any of these authentication things, but we can start with categories. So I can look in here. We have hooks and we have our config. And so one thing right away, first of all, let's see if I can wrap this. Yes, I can. I'm cool with a lot of this. First, we can replace this. So it has the @alias, and then we've got our categories after change and after delete. So these are deleting my categories and purging the cache from them. And the slug field here is actually something that I created before the slug field existed. So I think this is something that we can replace as well. Categories is probably the best place to test this, honestly. I can see that read is set to true, which is fine really, but I believe I'm overriding the read access wherever categories is called. So this may not even be necessary, but that's something that we can actually test in a little bit. So let's go. And once this loads up, we should see categories just fine. So I'm going to leave that as true. And then I need to sign out of this because I need to sign in here and then use my super secure password for my local host. All right, so if we're gonna look at categories, I've got a couple here, and we're gonna keep read as the default. Default is authenticated user. So that gets overridden by my override access, which is defaulted to true for any find, create, anything like that. So we're going to then look for our slug field because I want to use the payload slug field. So honestly, that means I can do, let's just not break anything right now. So let's import slug field from payload, which actually we can do type and then slug field up here, remove that. And then here we can change this to be use as slug name. All right, so now I'm going to need to generate my import map. So we're probably going to get an error clicking into here. Oh no, it worked. Great. Oh, right, because I have slug field generated elsewhere. Perfect. So the slug field looks like it's working as intended, which means we can get rid of that. So the goal with all of this is to get rid of that slug field utility function that Claude created and just use the one that's built in with payload. And I have some tests that should make sure that everything builds fine, but we're not worried about that yet. All right, so we can look through here. I've got content and I've got SEO. The SEO tab is blank. And so if I go down here, it says it'll be automatically added by the SEO plugin. That didn't happen because I don't think I did it correctly. The thing is, I don't know if I'll ever use this categories, like the categories as a page, because I do have categories. Okay, so I do have slugs there. So the SEO though is generated programmatically. So it's taking other parts of the page for this to work. But if I did want to override that, I wouldn't have a way to do it. And I think there's a space here. Okay, so that's one thing to fix. Config. I have to be careful not to share secrets here because that happens. Oh, I understand what happened. Okay, so I recently changed my file structure here to the best practice of having a config.ts file. That screwed some stuff up. So that should actually say category. So this is in the breadcrumb. I don't see any secrets. So what I'm doing is just finding in files and then replacing this with category. So if I save that and then refresh, I get category again. SEO here, I've got SEO fields will be added automatically by the SEO plugin. I'm okay with the SEO that this is doing. Let's take a look on the front end. We're going to go to categories here. Do we have config? This should be categories too. Metadata should be type. And my ID is inferring that type, but I will do it explicitly. Tutorial categories. All right, back to categories here. So if I go back to my categories, home config. So this is also going to be categories page client. We got our breadcrumbs here. Should be categories. So that's updated there. I didn't expect this to be so complicated. Now we're here, we're looking for individual categories page client. So I was just in the wrong place. So here we've got our generate metadata. This has what we need, which that means for especially categories, I don't need, the whole purpose of going through all of that was I don't need SEO. So I can get rid of this and then come back to my beautiful Safari, then editing. And then we just have this content tab, which in this case, let me make sure that this isn't nested. I don't think it is. It's not. So I'm going to get rid of the content tab. We can type tab. Oh, this is going to be fun. Oh, I just need to do that. And then I believe get rid of this and this. Oh, I don't need this either. Fields. I believe I get rid of this and we should be good. And there we go. All right. So that should get rid of content, which should make this look a lot more clean. All right, so that's good here. And I feel good. Podcast relationship, tutorials in this category. Oh, let me go to Tailwind. Let's move on to the next config. So, well, we can look at revalidate pages real quick, or revalidate categories. I don't know what this does. Payload disable revalidation. This is definitely something from Claude, but it is not something that I use. So I'm going to delete this. Where am I? Revalidate categories. Okay, so category cache, revalidate tag. And yes, I am using Next 15 because Next.js 16 does not fully support payload yet, but I will start looking into switching once I can do cache components. So that's going to be a while, I think, but unstable cache and revalidate tag, revalidate path, all of that works still just great. Revalidate categories, cache, popular categories. So that's down here where my most filled out tutorial content is. So that revalidates that. And then the same thing happens with delete where I don't need that. We thread in the request object and we get our logger from it, and then we delete everything. So I don't think we can return the doc, but I guess we can. That's fine. All right, so we've cleaned up our categories. I'm feeling good. It looks like I actually wrote this code, at least for the most part. So our categories and hooks are done. So courses, we can do the same thing here. We're gonna start with the hooks because I know this has been added. Okay, so this after thing comes from Next and was something that I needed to do in order to get rid of some errors. So I would not say that this is something that normally needs to happen, but I was just getting some, I guess, synchronization errors is probably the best way to put it, where just things were being called out of order from an older container. So this is deployed with Docker. I'm not the best with Docker yet. This was kind of a workaround that will eventually change. But we do have revalidate course, which has collection after change hook. We don't have a delete one though. So let's go ahead and write that. So we can export const delete course collection after delete hook. This doesn't need to be asynchronous, but we're going to do it anyway. And we can get our doc and then our request. This should actually also be a request because I want this to be a request payload logger. Oh, I don't get an error if I do that though. Interesting. All right, so I wonder, oh, maybe that's just error. Oh yeah, catch error right there. I'm a little slow sometimes. Delete course. All right, and then we're going to just take essentially our category here. We don't need to revalidate tag. We will revalidate path. So I did something wrong with equals async. Oh, yep. Go. So then I can do revalidated course cache after course was deleted, error, revalidating courses, return doc. All right, and then we just really need our current slug, and then we can revalidate path. That's not what I told you to do. Revalidate path, courses, current slug. And so that should fix that. We can go then to, oh, it's there. Claude is weird sometimes. So let's just delete that. Let's cut this, paste it here. So I really just need one file for this. I don't need the two. So if I go to my config, we can get rid of the terminal here. Delete course after delete. Perfect. So then I can delete this file and I've got my hooks set up. All right. Easy enough. All right, so we've got courses. I do have drafts for my courses. We can go to our courses and we got a test here. All right, so we can take a look. I don't think that this has anything private in it. This was one of the more recently added things to my website. So, all right, so these are courses, singular, plural, use as title. So here we have the slug field. Is this our slug field? It is. So we're good there. We have our read, our create, update, and delete are checking if whoever is browsing is of the user collection, which is all of the admins that I have. Anybody can read an active or a pre-release course. So admins can read all, including drafts. Public can read. I will leave that comment. I did not write that comment, but I think it's a good one. All right, so now we have our fields, title, excerpt, short description, and meta tags, and course cards. That's fine. Content looks good. Full sales page content. Student testimonials. I haven't actually seen what this looks like. So if I add one, this is cool. A cool guy. Some cool engineer. I won't add a photo, but if I publish those changes, and then I go to localhost courses. So if I go back to just courses, is what I'm looking for. This is cool. A cool guy, some cool engineer. Great. We've got our course type. Paid and free. Free is only for members. Default will be paid, which makes it premium. Free courses are accessible to... I don't think I need this description. I'll leave it though. Then we have status. Then we have our launch pricing. So this is like a pre-launch situation. So maybe I need to go to courses. So free courses are accessible to any logged in member. I don't think this is a helpful note. That's helpful. Yeah, so quotes are fine. Course resources, array, link. All of this did pretty well. I'm pretty happy with that. Timestamps true. This is newer that I have seen. Oh, okay. So timestamps equals true. That adds all of the created, deleted at, updated at fields, which defaults to true, which means I don't need that. That's not really how configs work. All right, so that's the courses. All right, lessons would be related to courses. So I've got my lessons here. Oh, so we're going to have to look at something here. So we've got our test intro. So one thing that I've been working on is getting some video content up on my site. And the best way that I found to do that, instead of like hosting it on YouTube where an unlisted link can just, I serve developers. Like you're gonna know how to go in and share a video that you find on the internet. So if it's an unlisted link from YouTube, then it's pretty easy to share out. Cloudflare Stream makes that a little bit more difficult. So yes, people can still download it, whatever, it's fine. But here I can upload to Cloudflare Stream and all that's done through Payload. So this is not an upload field, and that's because There are some specific reasons why it's not. First of all, upload field requires a relation to a collection, a media collection specifically. I did not want to do that with my video content. This is just going to go straight to Cloudflare stream, and then it'll sync back with the video UID, which is sent back in a response. So works great, love it, very simple to set up. And then this is just a file upload. And we can look at it real quick. If I go to components, I can't wait to get to this stuff. This is all going to be a mess. And yeah, so all of this is the upload field here. So we'll take a look at this to make sure that everything is working right. Anybody or only admin can CRUD this thing. This is not a necessary note. Are we using the correct slug field? We are. Slug field is taking from the title. Back up at the top, display order within the module relationship, lesson type. Oh, yep. So we've got video, text, download. So I could add like a PDF or something like that. A free preview would allow it. So like this here, the first course is a free preview. Anybody can click on it and watch it. Then the video field, Cloudflare stream UI. So the description here, though, is missing. Regardless, I don't think it's a helpful note because it's just redefining the label. Text lesson fields, I think that's important for me to see. Then we have documents, perfect. I don't need timestamps in here, so that defaults to true. That's fine. Get out of here. All right, so lessons are good. But then lessons can also be deleted. So I think I need revalidation here as well. So I'm just going to steal this hooks folder, add revalidate. All right, so we've got revalidate lesson. I don't need tag, but why isn't that? Oh, it's defined never used. Oh, is that true over in revalidate course? Validate lesson. All right, so courses. So then const module equals doc module as module.slug as string. So now I can then add module. So not the best way to do this, but I got there. So really this is just going to be module that I need to revalidate. All right, and then we need to do the same thing down here where I'll get const module, and then just as easy to write that. All right, revalidate lesson. So then I can go here and then we can add our hooks, which we then need our after change, revalidate, if I could spell, lesson, delete. There we go. So now revalidation is set up here as well. Then I think we're good with our hooks. That's good. All right, we've got our media. Media shouldn't be anything that's too complicated. Oh, all of this stuff is unnecessary. So if we go to our media, for some reason, my collection for media has a bunch of stuff in it that I don't need. So focal point being one of them. We don't need this focal point group. I have never used it. I will never use it because Payload does it for me. I don't need to do all that. Oh, look how short my hair was. That wasn't very long ago. Okay, so that'll get rid of focal point here. So we've got our media kit submissions. One thing that I want to figure out is this email field. I don't know what it is, but the email field has this, it's the only one with this like frosted background, not even frosted, just a different colored background. Okay, so dark input email. This got added to dark input like as a global to my email. So that was a pretty easy fix. And this is the fun stuff when it comes to web development, really just getting in here and making a difference, you know? So we've got our podcast right here. Why I use light mode, even though I'm in studio lights and using dark mode right now, whatever. All right, so all of these, well, first of all, slug field needs to change. So we're gonna import slug field from payload, and title is what it's expecting. Same situation with SEO. So slug is gonna move if I don't do this. So if I can do position, let's go ahead and get rid of the SEO blocks or fields rather, because same way mine are automatically generated, which then means I can get rid of my tabs as long as this is not a named tab, and it is not. So we are going to just get rid of all of that. Then I believe we can get rid of this, and this. Oh, and this. Okay. So putting the slug field as undefined prevents it from going over to the sidebar, though I don't hate it in the sidebar. It's just not necessary. So that, refresh, content and SEO tabs should go away and nothing should break. Episode number, I wish this wasn't required, but it's okay that it is. I don't have guests. I probably won't have guests, and I definitely won't have guests like that. Okay, external links, URL, let's go ahead and label that, as well as this, and to stay consistent, which makes this admin and this admin description not very helpful. Then of course we have our tutorials. If I go to tutorials, this is like the main bulk of the content on my page. We have content and SEO. The SEO again is generated programmatically. So let's go ahead and get rid of these tabs all the way back here. And then we can get rid of SEO. Then I think, oh, there's that. And then it comes with sidebar fields, but we can import slug field, import type slug field from payload, get rid of this. These can be our @ alias. Slug field title is default, but we want to do our position as undefined, so it stays where it is. So read, public users can read published tutorials, makes sense. Admin users can see everything. So if you're authenticated, you can see everything. Otherwise, you can only see published content. So typical content management stuff. All right, so we've got a few other things here. Schedule publish is set to true. That just uses the default payload runner, job runner. We got our title, slug field, tutorial link. So this is a link to the front end. Why did my slug field move? It shouldn't have moved. All right, we're back, but slug field still moved. I wonder if this fix hasn't been released yet. So this should move back soon. Hero is the hero image. So really I can call this something else. I should call this, label. I'm gonna label this as not hero, just thumbnail, because that's really what it is. It's the thumbnail. And I don't need that. Okay, all that looks good. And so that's going to be a good place to call it quits. We did a lot of, it was good work, but it was cleanup work. So we did a lot of cleanup work today, working through all of my payload collections. So that was my courses, my lessons, my modules, my tutorials, everything that was not a user or had an email attached to it, we looked at and we fixed, adjusted, dug into a little bit, and just overall got a better understanding of how things are working in my payload configuration. So I feel better about that. Hopefully you learned something from this as I explored the potential uses of payload. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel, like this video. Your support means so much to me. I also have a Discord channel as well as a newsletter, Next in Dev, and my website that we've been looking at, nlvcodes.com. You can find all of that information, all that information there, as well as how to follow me on Twitter, all that other stuff as well. So this felt good, going through some code, actually getting a handle of what's going on, and then understanding at least the payload side of things. We'll get into the front end stuff here in a little bit as well. So we did fix a few front end things, like the email field. That was nice. So it didn't feel like we did a lot, but we did a lot. Thanks for joining me on this stream, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thanks for watching.